fantasy baseball statistics. Welcome in. I had to orient the league. I've got big plans for today. This is kind of an orientation for the community. I went out, I was listening to some podcasts, and they triggered me a little bit. And so I got to bring you guys along with me with my process because I don't want to hide any, even little tiny steps in the process. So today I'm going to talk about just prices, early prices, and my feelings. Because what I'm hearing in podcasts are people are just reading ADP and they're saying their feelings. And I was like, well, why am I not just giving my feelings with no numbers in the background? But I will give a little bit of stats because there's some guys I've got to dig in on. And I'm trying to get better this season. I'm trying to take it to the next level. So in the beginning of my process, I don't look at anything. I might have clicked on an 80, like a Yahoo teased me once and said like top 100 players. And I was like, no, don't stare at the Medu. Like I won't look at ADP because I don't want it to start to influence my bias. But we're a little ways along here. We did 20 top hitters. We pushed up like 25 more. I've got 50 hitters. Then we did about 15 pitchers. I could push up about another 10. So I'm feeling pretty good. I'm feeling pretty much 80 players deep. And I have the blinders on, so I'm not getting biases. I'm going strictly off the data. But I realize, I'm not going to be ignorant to the information that's out there. I think that there might be podcasts like Sleeper in the Bust or Flags Fly Forever that can offer a little bit more insight. I'm always trying to learn and trying to grow. So I go over to the podcast. And this is, let me just, it's long, so you just have to bear with.
Getting back to Ramirez, we were just doing
This is Flags Fly Forever on their sliding to third base analysis. Jose Ramirez
with the Axe, and so he's projected overall as the fourth overall player, according to.
So just an obsession with projections and projection systems. And Flags Fly Forever, they're talking about the Axe, which is some new projection system where you can slide the percentile outcome of how the player is going to do. And I mean, percentile outcome, that's something I'm kind of doing internally. So you're just going to use a slider and juice a guy's number or suppresses. I mean, it's interesting.
The Axis valuations. And you only have, if you put the slider up to a 60th percentile, he gets to the third overall. You only have to put it up to the second, to the 70th percentile, and he becomes the second overall, only second to Mike Trout. So the Axe is very enthusiastic about Ramirez. I am also enthusiastic about Ramirez. He's only 28. He had a blip.
Only 28? No. Vlad Guerrero's only 21. Cody Bellinger is only 25. Jose Ramirez, it only isn't 28.
Coming out of the end of the 2018 and the beginning of the 2019 season. But I think
a little blip. Did I pull up Jose? Well, let me just bear with me while I bring up a couple players right here. A little blip. I mean, Jose Ramirez, I would call a little bit more than a little blip. I mean, yes, we were very high on his breakout season when he went in 2017, hit 29 bombs and took 17 bases on a 318 average. His BABIPs then cratered to a 252 and then a 256, leaving him with a 270 and a 255 BABIP. Last season, he went 23 and 24 in 2019. Sure, he got hot in the shortened season, but I would call it a little bit worse than a little bit of a blip.
It's a power speed combo, outside of Mookie Betts, and I think arguably Ramirez brings you more from the stolen base perspective than what Mookie Betts will bring you. He's really an elite talent, and I have no problems with him going in the top 5 overall.
Yeah, I don't either. I think I have him 5th.
No problem with him going in the top 5, comparing him to only Mookie Betts as a power speed option. Mookie's projected for like 32 home runs and teens bases. Just listen to the double down here.
And overall, and even before the Axe came out, I think that's about where I had him. And it's funny because the thing about Ramirez, I always say that the first round or the first few rounds is not about position scarcity.
Is that true?
But given how close Ramirez is to those other players, and there's so many outfielders and shortstops in the top 5, 6, 7 in ADP, that's where Ramirez really stands out. Like there is a drop from Ramirez to Machado. Whereas, if you are looking at Trout, Betts, Acuna, it's like Soto. It's like, okay, well, yeah.
He doesn't even say Tatis Jr. Tatis is projected for 38 home runs, 112 runs, 105 ribby, and 26 bases. Doesn't even say his name.
I might prefer one to the other, but they're pretty similar. There's arguments. We'll get to this in outfield week. There's arguments you could make for all of them, as far as one of them being the number one pick. But Ramirez really stands out. Yeah, he really definitively is the best at his position and close enough to the top that even if you don't think he's as valuable as those 4 outfielders I mentioned, there's a justification. His ADP right now is, let's see, he's 12th overall, which is a little surprising, and no one has taken him higher than 5th in Draft Champions in the last month. So, the market doesn't agree with you, but I do. I don't have a problem taking him 1st overall.
What?
Yeah.
What? First overall? Are you kidding me? Oh my God. I mean, I'm sorry, guys. I just had to get that off my chest. And then I slip over to check on Sporer and Justin Mason, and it's the same things. And so somehow early draft champions, ADP, those picks are going to push their way through the whole preseason. That guys are going to talk about it, and they're going to talk about what round or what price. And this has nothing to do whatsoever with salary cap draft strategy. It just won't help you because round by round, teams just get filled in. They're just snakes, just back and forth and back and forth. You just pick a player. Do you like him in that round? Well, you're not going to get a bunch more players. Salary cap is about knowing targets and being much more on point. And obviously that's baseball prospectus. Saying stuff like that, just mind-boggling. And then I won't even play Sporer and Justin Mason. Justin Mason doesn't like young players. And he's starting to have to like young players because his teams aren't good. And he's seeing young players blow up. So he's starting to like the occasional young player. But because he's never liked them, he likes veterans. He likes previous performance is who he likes to draft. So he doesn't even really know how to evaluate them. I don't know if Sporer is even trying anymore. I think Sporer's just gotten bored. He's on to other things. I mean, Mason will at least say the words FIP and XFIP and an XStat. I mean, Sporer will just discuss ERA. That's it for Sporer. Just ERA, mid-threes ERAs. The favorite players. I just couldn't take it. So I was like, I'm gonna go look. I'm gonna go get the edge because let's take the blinders off at this point. My bias, it won't happen. I've gotten pretty far. And at this point, I want to make sure, is there anybody I have to take a second look at? Is there anybody that I have to check back in on? So we're going to get into, start working your way over to Fantasy Baseball on Yahoo. Get into your draft. You click down draft analysis, salary cap drafts, sort by average salary. That's going to pull up some early pricing. We're going to go over that. But I just had to touch on one thing. Shout out to the comments. We got doctors of fantasy are checking in. They like the statistics. And I went over some numbers last time on pitching. Let me make sure. And I would be remiss to not, on plate discipline, to skip over what might be the most important one in the game is SWSTR percentage, swinging strike. That's right, swinging strike and whiff rates are probably the number one indicators of how many Ks you're going to get, what your strikeout rate's going to be. Where do I need to be on swinging strike? I need to be 12 percentage points plus 14, 15 as it goes up that is better. That's once you get down to 11, 10 and 9 on swinging strike is not going to get there. And just to tease out a little bit between swinging strike and whiff, off the top of my head, swinging strike is swings and misses per pitch, where whiff rate is swings and misses per swing, and that will derive a slightly different number where whiff rate is slightly more predictive of K rate than swinging strike. So just one more tool, just to make sure that you guys are rounded out. You can't be skipping swinging strike. I mean, swinging strike, K to BB percentage, I'm doing by month to month to see who popped, who flashed stuff. I mean, Sporer will say the word arsenal and never mention somebody's arsenal. So that's where I'm at. And like after what happened with Nick Pollock and Matt Strom back in 2019, you know that I just have a hard time with Nick. And then Paul Sporer, he had the Jose Barrios incident with the dark horse Cy Young candidate talk. And so, I want to go into the stuff to get little nuggets, but I just find it giving me frustration because I think there's more. We can be better at this. So I'm going to bring you guys along. Why I think to go to prices here? I'm like, let me just take a look. Let's start discussing our ladder a little bit. Let's look at our salary cap, average salary, ADP world and see what we're going to have to deal with, because there aren't going to be tiers. We're going to be having to pay and to target players. And just after hearing to some of these guys and hearing, once Jose Ramirez going 1, I was like, wait a second, let's see what's actually happening. So we're just going to discuss some players. I'm going to go pretty deep here on prices and kind of lay out my early strategy. And the reason I think this intermission, this detour of just prices and feelings, price just going to give you my feelings. We might look at a little bit of numbers, so bear with me if I have to type some names in, but just going to give you my feelings on these guys, because that's going to kind of indicate where we got to go next with our study. And I did see some things that really stood out to me, some glaring mistakes, and that's because it's coming from Draft Champions, going through the Monopoly podcasts, making its way over to Suspect Yahoo. And I overall, from a step back perspective, I see a free-for-all. I see it being pretty tight, down to like 50 players, 60 players. But then guys haven't done their research, and it's a free-for-all. And that's where all of our money will be made, just being more right along the way. So let's kick it off from the top. Yahoo, draft analysis, average salary sorted. Number 1 player, Ronald Acuna Jr., for $54. So what I'm seeing here, projected salary is what's going to show up in the machine. Average salary is like after the fight shakes out. So we see an obvious cluster up top here of 4 guys, starting with Tatis at $50. Tatis, Soto, Betts, Acuna. For me, I'm not going back for Betts. Betts has done this before. Betts will be a top 3 player, and then Betts will not perform, and you'll be sad, and he'll slip to the second round. And then when he's in the second round, he'll have that season, So we're just gonna keep doing this with Mookie. But I'm not really excited for low 30s power and average. My focus is on Ronald, Soto, and Tatis. Clearly, all going for what they say is 50. And then up to Ronald for 54. So Ronald being a little bit more of the preference. I believe in a room, you'll have to be ready to go to 65 for Ronald. And one strategy that I would assign here would just be, you got $260. Take the first 60 and just take a top 4. Just take one of these bats right off the top. And then think of your draft from $200 on down. Because there's no reason to deprive ourselves of one of those players when I think as we go down further, relatively, they're going to be worth it. They're going to be worth your season. And the other thing, Betts with average, Soto with average. If you're playing in categories, we are trying to win categories, so you've got to have some strategy there. I'm not a big get a guy who's high on average to balance out low average. I don't even really like to chase average because average is so inconsistent throughout the week. I want to chase counting stats, power and speed, things I'm in more control of, Ks, stuff like that I can just count and I can get guaranteed from the player. So average is one of those tricky ones. But if you are going to go for average, if you are a Soto team, don't then go get Mondesi. You got to be careful about where you're going to compensate. If you're going to be a high average team, win that category, stick to average, go get maybe a Bregman and kind of complement your stats that way. Once you've punted average, Now you can get Max Wilson, you can get all sorts of guys. So just thinking of your team construction there. So Ronald up to 55. My love affair is going for Tatis Jr. So I don't know. It's 6'3". I was just told by perspective that position doesn't matter. I kind of think it does. I think that Tatis Jr. is special at shortstop at 6'3". We'll have a speed day coming down the pipe a little bit. Mike Trout at 49. And then we see a little bit of a drop off, which is interesting here. The two pitchers, Garrett Cole, then Jake DeGrom. So for me, Garrett Cole, I just want to plug him in here. Garrett Cole is not my number one any longer. I have Garrett down 3 spots, so I'm obviously not taking him there. This is my issue with Garrett. You can go to his player page on Fangraphs. His Ks were 11.9, walks were 2. That's great. He had a 1.73 home runs per 9. He was giving up the long ball. And it's reflected in his FIP where that home run per 9 was bad. It's a 3.89. The XFIP drops down to a 3.38 because he should be better than career worst bombs, but it wasn't his best strikeout year. It was a little bit lower. And honestly, Garrett's starting to get some innings on that arm. I mean, he's got 3 200 inning seasons under his belt, 4 of them. I see a K per 9 down just a little bit. So it's not really Garrett for me. I think he's up a little bit high there. DeGrom, sure, at 46. But this is where I have to push the narrative. So we're going to have Sporer and Justin Mason start talking about pocket aces. It sounds good. It sounds good. If you play Hold'em and you like to play poker, pocket aces are the nuts. Of course you want to get your pocket aces in. But don't get confused into us playing fantasy baseball and then you thinking that you should be a pocket aces guy, that you're on some sort of cusp. If you're in a super deep league, 15 team, I don't know where I would go back to back for aces, but in no way is it going to be in the first couple rounds. They then later talk about every pitcher being an injury risk. You can't both say every pitcher is an injury risk and say you're going to take 2 high-end pitchers with your top 2 picks on a snake. Or for me, spending $47 on either Cole or DeGrom, it's never going to happen because I can't spend $65 on Ronald and then $50 on Garrett Cole and be left with $160 and only have 2 players. So I'm never going to get those pitchers there. I'm not spending on that. And plus, we're going to find value as we do every season. I've got $20 aces for you guys coming up, and we're going to be right late. So I'll never spend on pitching up. It's not going to happen. Trey Turner continues to be the sexiest player in the league at $45. I mean, the contact's good. He's solid. I can see building around Trey, but that's a little pricey when I could have Tatis for $5 more. So this is my comparison. It's not really tiers. It's targets. It's up, down. It's trade-offs. Do I want Trey Turner or do I want 40 bombs from Tatis Jr.? The bombs from Tatis, exactly. So Trey is just too expensive for me. Here's the Biebs for 45. I like that he's less than Cole and DeGrom. So if you need that ace early, because that's how you've won. I haven't won like that. The one league last season, we didn't draft pitchers early. We find them late. So, if you stick with this, I'll be giving you all my pitchers. I'll probably give you most of them here today. So the Biebs is there, and the same with Yelich at 43, at 45, especially if we're going to get into a little fight. Why do I want to be questioning what's going on with Yelich's knee, with Yelich at 29 and a half years old, when I could spend, I guess it's $7 more and have Soto? I'm just spending up. It's just going to default, throw me up to the next level. Trevor Story at 40. I really like him of the $40 players. No, I'm not paying for Freddie Freeman's career year at 38. No, not the injury-prone Freddie. No, thank you. Francisco Lindor for 38. I'd rather have Story. I think there's some more pop in the bat. I think Story's more aggressive on the bases in a better park. So that's a lot for Lindor. Not a discount, just getting that superstar price. Here it is, Trevor Bauer for $36. And with how nervous I am on Trevor's left on base, you can go check out the profile. You can see that he's got one out pitch or how his arsenal changes from season to season. But I'm out on Bauer there. This is the next player. Walker Buehler at $35. We got to stop here for a second. This is really going to hurt me. I'm going to actually put a little bit of ice on Walker Buehler at $35. Let me start pulling them up here. I love Walker Buehler. I don't want you guys to take this the wrong way. If you want to go get Walker Buehler for $35, I respect that. I like seeing that name, absolutely. But I see blemishes. We go to Walker Buehler's game log last season. Just his innings pitched: 3, 5, 5.2, 4.2, 6, 5, 2, 4. Man, he went 6 innings once, and it was when he got off on Colorado at home. That's tough for $35. Let me go into Walker Buehler's arsenal. I mean, I like the big boy fastball, sits at 87. The batting average, it really can't be hit, so it was going great. The whiffs are 26. That's good. The curveball had a 50% whiff rate. The cutter had a 34. So, I mean, I guess on the curveball I can feel good, but the curveball the season before, 37% whiff. I guess he's getting better. It's just the game logs. And I guess the hype is because he really got off in the World Series under the big lights. They needed a big game from him. The adrenaline was pumping. But at 35, I just don't know if I'm ready to put WB up high, up in that mix. But the hype machine is going. Teammate Cody Bellinger, $35. Now, Cody dislocated a shoulder, and that has to make everybody a little nervous. How is Cody going to heal? He's young enough to heal. How does he look in the preseason? At $35, if he hits 6 or 7 preseason home runs, he's going back for 45. Bellinger has MVP-type potential. We just don't know how recovered he is from the shoulder. So if there's a year to be nervous on Cody, I guess this is the year. I still love the player, but it's hard for me to really go in there if I'm going to buy some other things coming up here. Yu Darvish at 33. See, there's an ace. I think that Yu has shown to be more filthy than Walker Buehler for a slightly diminished price. And with my rankings, I'd rather go there. We get a little train here. These guys are all $30 players. I don't want to say, and we can look at the bot has them for 25 up to 29. They go from $28 up to 33. So that shows you that there is some fight occurring here, and there could be some variance. In a really aggressive room, these guys listed for 30, they could go for 40. So if you want one of these guys, you really are going to have to allot $40 and know what you're getting. But look at who's in here. Manny Machado, Nolan Arenado, Bryce Harper, Bogarts, Lucas Giolito, Bo Bichette. Whoa, $31 for Bo Bichette. Max Scherzer, Aaron Nola, Jack Flaherty, Eloy Jimenez. And I'll go down. Alberto Mondesi and Kyle Tucker. All in this cluster. So you're looking at paying from $30 to $40 for one of these guys. Where is it going to be for you? So flags fly forever. They basically said Arenado's toast. He's basically done. I don't think so. I think Arenado's probably a stud every season that he plays until he decides to retire at 37 years old. But they're done with him. That 32 is the cheapest we've seen Arenado in about 8 years. He's out there. Bryce Harper at $32. I mean, I love Bryce there, honestly. Xander Bogaerts compared to Bryce Harper, there is no excitement for me whatsoever for a Xander Bogaerts compared to a Bryce Harper, so I wouldn't be going there. And here, if you pass on all those pitchers, if you didn't even want you and you preferred Lucas Giolito because he's younger, there's a $31 pitcher you can start with, as opposed to $50 for Garrett Cole. You could probably have Giolito and a $20 player as opposed to just Cole. I mean, you kind of have to think about if you can take players apart and stick them together. Who would you rather have? Now, Bo Bichette for $31. Obviously, the hype is just nuts. Sure, he's projected for 25. He's a little young. He swings at a lot of stuff. Max Scherzer for $30. Max Scherzer, Aaron Nola. Max Scherzer, Aaron Nola. Max Scherzer way up over Aaron Nola just off of legacy, just off of stringing gems together. See, I really like upside in a pitcher because from week to week, even your best pitchers are going to get rocked sometimes. They're going to have bad outings. And when your good pitchers have bad outings, you're going to lose pitching categories that week. That's okay. When they throw gems, though, the upside of the gems, the sparkling gems, you're going to win pitching that week. And Scherzer's going to be there with the best of them throwing gems. Aaron Nola and then Jack Flaherty right in there. Ooh, and I'm Flaherty over Nola. But for the lock, God, is it Scherzer? Who I never can get Scherzer because he's always going in the first round. This is the cheapest he's ever been. 36 years old. Okay. And now it gets interesting. This is where I think the draft gets a little haywire in this Luis Robert, Eloy Jimenez, Alberto Mondesi, Kyle Tucker, Albies, Devers, and then listen to this, Bregman and Rendon. So, I mean, first of all, this has to be an error. Bregman at $26, Bregman's at least a $35 to $40 player. He's playing third base or shortstop. I mean, Bregman is a lock. Bregman is going to hit. Bregman is going to drive in runs. I mean, I can promise you 20, 90, 90 as the drop-dead floor unless Bregman tears an ACL or something. He's going to play. No doubt. If you can tolerate Alberto Mondesi for $28, I got off. I've got to bring Mondesi up here. I mean, obviously, guys are drafting him for the speed. You're thinking that you're going to win steals. Alberto is being compared to that Trey Turner light. But we got to remember, Alberto keeps getting hurt. I don't know. I see him projected for 20 home runs and 55 steals. Yeah, we'd all love to see it if he played a full season. But this plate discipline, I think I compared him to Matt Olson. I meant to say Joey Galloian. I mean, he swung at 37% O-swing with only a 73% zone contact. His zone contact is trending down. His swinging strike is 20%. So the plate discipline on Alberto is just, it's very bad. And I don't want to send the wrong signal. Like, I love Alberto. I mean, I owned Alberto in every league when I was doing Alberto and Hoskins. But now Alberto's up at $28. And that's just a little scary for me when I'd have to choose between Eloy Jimenez and Luis Robert going right together. So Eloy, the big-time slugger, met with his teammate Luis Robert, showing that the league just doesn't know which player is going to be better. Is it the 40 bombs from Eloy? Is it 30-30 Robert potential? I want some pieces in there. I also like Kyle Tucker for 26, so I do want to be in here. But not really Albies at 26. That's just a little too much hype for the youngster who's not taking enough bases and hasn't shown me enough official power. Big conversation about Devers. Where do you think Devers is going to be? What kind of hitter? And then Bregman and Rendon, just value picks at third base. And Bregman has shortstop eligibility, just easy. I'm not a DJ LeMahieu guy. So, like, if I'm going to nominate players, it's players I don't want. Players that I think are a bad pick. Not trash or injured necessarily pitchers. Just players who, like, I wouldn't want at that time. And DJ LeMahieu is one of them for me. Kind of a late bloomer who's getting old, who didn't have, I just see that because he's not a true star, he wasn't a star his whole career, that he can fade a little bit into the background. Mixed with a Jose Abreu for 25 going for value. But these are expensive players. I mean, 25, and then you get pushed to 30, you probably have to allocate 30 for anybody in here. And if something is hyped, Bregman could take you to 35. I don't know how you walk away with him for 25, but maybe. Maybe people just hate him as a person enough to let him go that cheap. But then this one boggles my mind. Whit Merrifield for $24. Why? I mean, Whit Merrifield looks like a relic. Just residue that's making its way through draft sheets. He's projected for like 12 or 15 home runs and 25 bases. 15 and 25 for Whit. I mean, it's just not even a purchasable player. I don't know what the average is going to be. I don't even care. I don't know. I might spend $10 on Whit. I don't even think I'd spend that. So keep going. That Witt would be another nom for me. Luis Castillo, Clayton Kershaw, Corey Seager, Zach Gallen. So I love Luis here. Luis Castillo for 25. I think you're getting an ace. Clayton Kershaw, aging, still pitches very well, has gems from time to time, but it's not the old Clayton. It's a maturing version of Clayton. It's Clayton, the pitching savant, later in life. I mean, at 24, it doesn't get me as excited. I'm going to go Luis there. Corey Seager, who I'm high on, $23 for Corey Seager. I mean, just if I wasn't so locked in on Tatis Jr., I'd have room to get Corey Seager. I could put Corey at short and then move Breggs over to third or something. Just one of those kind of like get cute. But here's where I didn't get Zach Gallen for $23. And I think this is coming from the sleeper and the bus pod that they're just pushing a Zach Gallen way up to 23. Because Zach was good, but at 25 years old, 6'2", fastball sits 93. He had a changeup with a 44% whiff, a curveball with a 38% whiff, the fastball with only 17% whiffs. I don't know. I saw a K to BB percentage of around a 19. I mean, I think he was good, but I don't see him coming as like the second coming. So if Luis Castillo is 24 and Zach Gallen is 23, Luis Castillo way up here over Zach Gallen. I mean, these are the things teasing apart. And I don't want to be pushed off of Luis Castillo if that's part of my plan. That's the commitment. Because I'm not going to say that these guys are the same and end up in a tier game and get pushed off of Luis and end up with Zach thinking I got the same player when I definitely didn't. Because Luis Castillo's fastball is like 96 or 97 miles an hour and Zach's is 93. Ozuna resigns with Atlanta. We can be happy there. Tim Anderson. Here's another. Starling Marte for 23. I think it's a mistake. George Springer for 22 is value. Realmuto, no catchers for me at 22. I'm up here dealing with, I can give up on Realmuto. I can go with Bregman. You know what? I can go pay up. I can go, I mean, that's the difference between like Robert and Realmuto. You're going to get Robert. And then right here, Vladimir Guerrero, Blake Snell, Aaron Judge. And so there's Blake. Blake with it, obviously, that's a $20 ace. $22 for Blake Snell. You could start your team there. Aaron Judge for 22? I mean, are you kidding me? I understand that there can be some injury risk, but I can't pay 26 for Albies and then 22 for Judge when Judge could put it together and hit 50 home runs and like drive in 120. It's just not going to happen. All right, next 50. Let's keep going. I'm just giving prices and feelings. Josh Hader for 21. A closer for 20. For 21, that makes no sense to me. Closers can only contribute in 3 categories: saves, ERA, and WHIP. And if somebody else ruins your ERA and WHIP that week, they cannot even contribute in there to really help you. So keep getting your hitters. We'll get closers late. Pete Alonso for 21, super value. Here's another sleeper. So as I see the sleepers get pushed up, and I can push this back into my evaluations, Randy Arozarena for $21. That's a lot for small sample size. Arozarena, 25 years old, playing in Tampa Bay at Bat Park. We'll have to see. Luke Voigt, a little old for me at 21, but okay. Kevin Biggio. Wait, is it Bo Bichette or is it Kevin Biggio getting sucked up? Don't think you're just going to alternate between those two. Kevin's projections aren't as exciting. I think Kevin's got the stingy eye, but Bo's got the contact. You got to figure that out. Here we go. Brandon Woodruff. Shh, quiet. $21 ace. Brandon Woodruff. Going to be a stud. So that's easy money. Why would I pay up for Cole for $30 more when I can just kind of deal with Brandon Woodruff? Yordan Alvarez for $20. Complete value. Here it gets interesting. A little string of pitchers we can probably dissect here. $19 to $20. Tyler Glasnow, Corbin Burns, Kenta Maeda, Sonny Gray, Steven Strasburg. No discount on Glasnow. Didn't have a very good season, but nobody's forgetting about the cheddar. Nobody's forgetting about the swing and miss stuff. I like Glasnow, but I don't know if I like him for 20. Obviously, I'm more confident probably in Woodruff than Glasnow. I do think a breakout could happen, but I'm not really going there. Kenta Maeda, just People just don't want to give him the respect. He's obviously a value at 19. If he doesn't excite you enough to spend $20 on him, I understand. It'd be nice to catch him at value. Sonny Gray's a guy I just don't take serious anymore. I'm sorry. I mean, I looked into his mix. Sonny had a very bad four-seamer that he had to shelve. So just something, a sinker is the same as a two-seam fastball. So guys aren't really putting any extra torque or anything on a two-seamer or a sinker, which are the same things. Sonny's four-seamer was giving up bombs. So he started just throwing his curveball and a sinker. So he's really curveball, sinker to kind of make it work. I understand he had like his best season last year, but he's a little small for me. And I like him less than Kenta Maeda. That's the last person I want out of those 5 pitchers because I've seen Sonny not get it all going. And then Steven Strasburg, who's day-to-day probably – did he have something – I think he did, right? It was a forearm or – it's constant. The chances that Steven puts together one season, it would be glorious if he played the whole season because he's that good. But, so 19 is kind of a mixed price. But Corbin Burnes, guys are just very hype here. Corbin Burnes, 55 future value player. I like things about Corbin. I see Corbin. He's another guy that had to scrap. Bear with me while I plug in some Corbin because I want to look at his historical. I believe that he was giving up bombs. Corbin was giving up bombs to his four-seamer. So he had to scrap that, and he went back to his two-seamer. This is Corbin Burnes. In 2019, he was giving up 3 home runs per 9. His ERA was 8.82. Oh my God. He was striking guys out, sure. But we're looking at a guy with a 13 K per 9, but a 3.6 walks per 9. That gets a little scary. But people are hype on him like the next coming of Corbin Burnes. Looks like a converted reliever getting moved into a starting role. But look at these innings in the game log. 3 innings, 3 innings, 5 innings. 3 innings, 5 innings, 5 innings. Here we go. He gets hot. 6 innings, 10 Ks. 6 innings, 7 Ks. 7 innings, 11 Ks, and 4 innings, 10 Ks. Okay, throw in 6 innings, 9 Ks. So I see this 5-start stretch where he got it going, but it was Pittsburgh, Cleveland, Detroit, St. Louis, Kansas City. I mean, it's hard. I mean, I'm really digging into the metrics, but you don't get a lot of credit for just shutting down Detroit. Or you're home against KC and shutting down KC or an anemic Pittsburgh team. I mean, we can barely even name the starting 9 for Pittsburgh at this point. So, and then he closed out the year with another 3 innings. He gave up 3 earned. It's just, is he really ready to take on a big number 1 starter role? And Corbin Burnes, I'm not sure. Guy I don't love. I see him being a little bit inflated. Let's keep going here. This is where I think the kind of things are just off the tracks. You can feel free to start popping sleepers at about 50 players, 60 players in. Keston Hiura, Javi Baez, still good players. Brandon Lowe, $19, interesting, playing first, second, and outfield. So Brandon Lowe could be an interesting power option at second base. Trent Grisham is up here. See, guys are just fine. It's time to get your sleepers. But who's buried down here amongst all the new guys? Gleyber Torres for $19. I mean, pencil it in. I doubt you can walk away with Gleyber for $19 because I think Gleyber's more of a $30 player, but I love him in there. Liam Hendricks, Lance Lynn, Nelson Cruz. See, no thank you. So I'd rather be up here. I'll have to sort through how I feel about Grisham, Lowe, and Hiura to make sure that I'm 100% because I don't want Lance Lynn, 47-year-old Nelson Cruz. Yoan Moncada's mixed in here, still kind of going for value. Is Yoan going to explode onto the scene this season? Age 26, putting it all together, putting the muscle together. Zach Plesac from Cleveland? Really? $18? I know a little bit about that arsenal. I've got to get more comfortable. I don't think it's Zach because there's some names I like a little bit better as we go further down. Aroldis Chapman, no closers. Teoscar, okay, swing and miss. Max Fried, Conforto. And then here it is. Dinelson Lamet for $16. I had to ask myself, like, how wrong am I about Dinelson Lamet? Dinelson had his K to BB last season was 27%. He had a 2.09 ERA, a 2.48 FIP with a 3.3 xFIP. I mean, he's impressive. I don't know. And I understand he's a little banged up, so maybe this is an injury thing. Maybe people didn't like his pitch mix. But I think that I'm all over Dinelson Lamet at $16 as a pretty affordable $20 ace, for sure. Lourdes Gurriel, Ketel Marte, Edwin Diaz, Charlie Blackmon, JD Martinez, Jeff McNeil, Rafael Iglesias. It's just teens guys that I'm not really targeting. You know, do you want JD? Are you ready for the bounce back from JD? Probably my favorite guy in there. I mean, McNeil's good, but not a lot of counting stats. Matt Olson, that's a lot of power for $15 from Olson. I think he's a little bit undervalued there. Ryu, what Hendricks was that? Here, Kyle Hendricks, Nick Castellanos. I thought I already said Hendricks, but he's down here. Kyle Hendricks, Castellanos, Barrios, Wheeler, Goldschmidt, kind of rounding this tier out. I don't really want any of that. I don't want Ryu. I don't want Castellanos. I'm not interested. But who I do really like, oh my God, Carlos Carrasco for $13. Put your pencil down and get a pen, and Carlos Carrasco for $13 could be completely filthy. Could come into the season healthy and be completely filthy for $13. Be a top 12 starter. That's crazy. Ian Anderson, a young rookie breakout candidate that we got to get used to for the Atlanta Braves, supposed to be a stud this season. You know, late where I want to be. James Karenak, a closer for $13, never going to happen. Muncy, Paddock, Framber Valdez, and the last guy on the page for $12, Jesus Luzardo. Sharpie, Jesus Luzardo. I'm all over it. Did I get him up here? I don't even need. I kind of know what he throws. I'm thinking it's 94-95 cheddar with 240% without pitches. That I want. Jesus Luzardo is going to be on a lot of teams for me at $12 because if I have to keep giving up money and sliding down my ace ladder, I'm okay with Jesus as a number 3. I'm on to the third page here. We're going to see how far. We got some more time. Alec Baum, Bryant, Austin Meadows at $12. So this is the other thing. There's going to be a cliff. And what we're starting to see here is the projected salary and the average salary are starting to merge. You're starting to not have to fight for these guys. You're really just starting to have money left. If there's a lot of fights in the top end of the draft, you will hit a cliff where the projected value is going to drop. Teens, guys, is over. And it's going to start being 5, 6, 7. And so depending, some of these guys might slip out here. I really like Austin Meadows for $12 on a bounce back. Julio Urias, I want a piece of that in my pitching staff. Matt Chapman for $12 is cheap. Rizzo, fading. Ryan Presley, no relievers. Giancarlo Stanton for $12. I mean, it's almost like an old man country for old men flyer on a Giancarlo for $12. It just seems really low for him. Greinke, nobody's excited, but he's going to be good again. Salvi Perez, Dominic Smith. I don't know if Dominic can be your outfielder. I mean, he did break out last season. He's a lot better than they're giving him credit for. If he fell to something for like $5 or a late nomination, I'm high on Dominic to some degree. Will Smith is my catcher. Buxton, Dansby Swanson, Buxton, Charlie Morton. Sixto Sanchez for $10. So a little bit of hype on young Sixto. People know that he throws hard, know that he's got a nice arsenal. I'll say $15, maybe $18 because I'm not getting pushed off of Sixto. Now you see that's like my 4th, 5th starter is Sixto because I want to be deep. I want to be streaming starters off my bench, so I'm winning Ks. I'll usually hold about 8 to 9 starters, a very light bench for my bats. 4 or 5 very late closers that we'll go through later. McCullers, Verdugo, no thank you. Kenley Jansen. Dylan Moore, who has some speed, going for $9. You see a rookie pushed up. Mike Yastrzemski, who's old but hit for average. Tommy Pham. Carlos Correa. Bottom of the barrel, $8. No one even cares about him anymore. Will Myers for $8. No way. That is way too low for Will Myers. That's crazy. Grandal, Taylor, Rogers, Eddie Rosario. Moustakas is pretty cheap power. Can play second base. Tommy Edman, a little bit of hype. Mountcastle. See, it's starting to get sloppy down here, but I want to keep reading the names. Patrick Corbin can be good. It's all slider and then fastball, but he can be decent. So 7's a little low. I like Corbin more than Musgrove. Jorge Soler for $6. Like, if you can tolerate Alberto Monaste's plate discipline, you can probably tolerate Jorge Soler going for mid-30s to 40s bombs for $6. Unless I'm way off. Now, Joey Gallo's average is going to crater your whole team. He's down here for $6. I don't know. And now the names are sloppy. Kyle Lewis, Pablo Lopez, no. Devin Williams, Key Brian Hayes for $5. That's my late guy. And it allows me to segue into a little bit of salary cap strategy. So I talked about don't give ideas to the draft. Don't just give them sleepers so everybody starts pounding sleepers. But one thing you might want to do is wait until some overspends are made and you'll see a little slack in the draft. Right when you see a player go for a little bit cheap. Guys have kind of pulled back. They know it's time to kind of hold on. It might be nice to slip a Key Brian Hayes up there in the middle, 50 to 70% into the draft. Because what happens is you want there to be other guys out there. You want there to be other camouflage or confusion so that a guy goes, no, I don't need Key Brian Hayes right now because I'll just take so-and-so or so-and-so. The problem with not just nom and grabbing your sleepers is if you wait and all of a sudden a couple guys don't have third base and they have big stacks, you're never going to get Key Brian Hayes for that because we're all going to be zooming in on that mess. So that's why I like a little bit of a nom into a soft spot or nom in your guy while there's still some camouflage, some talent still out there. Hosmer, no. Simeon, Gausman. Dylan Carlson is the name a lot of guys are hyped on. So you have to save a little bit of money. So the bot has him priced at 8 and he's going for 4. So I think the cliff has already hit. We're like 150 players in. So the cliff's hit. You just have to be able to show some self-control and save, $60, $45 so that you can buy a few $6 players. Who else is even worth? Franmil Reyes for $3. That's pretty cheap. Ramon Laureano. I'm into the 150 to 200s. Mike Soroka's injured. Victor Robles for $2. It's going to start going for free. But this Josh Bell for $2? I mean, oh my God. That doesn't make any sense. So it looks like I could have Josh Bell as a bench bat. They're pricing him so low that they're making me think he's not a good player. Like now, I don't trust him. His price is so cheap. But I love Josh Bell. I don't think that price can stay forever. Maybe there will be an adjustment. And then it's really just trash. Pollock for $2. That's extremely low. Pollock is a way better player than that. Talon, we got to check on the industries. Syndergaard, we got to check on the industries. I like Shohei Ohtani on both sides of the ball. Getting little pieces of that. I'll experiment. I mean, we can get further into the ladder, but that just helped orient us a little bit. Let me get a little bit of podcast craziness off of my chest. So now you know where we're going. We're going to tease these apart. I'm going to tease my pitchers apart, get a little bit closer into the arsenal. Hopefully that orients us so that we can get ready to maybe get an early auction in here. Get ready for the regular season, which they're trying to not delay. Big shout out to all the subscribers. You guys are the best. Holla back.